Hello. Yes. Yes. We are on. Great, great, great. You know, I do better standing up because I'm so nervous. I need to move around. Yeah. Oh yeah, I'll go there. Good.
Se ce la facciamo, eh?
Oh no, she's bringing that. That's good. Yeah.
I think it's better.
Yeah, this is, oh, good. Now I can breathe and move. Thank you, everyone, for coming here. I am so excited. I mean, I think everybody else is too. In fact, I feel like when I've been walking around Exalts this week, it's like today, it's like when I take my dog to the dog park. Everybody's wagging and barking, and it's just, we're happy. I feel like you're all my dogs. So that's a compliment. That's a compliment. And yeah, so thank you. You're my people. And I just wanted, first of all, to thank Exalts for having this wonderful event. Silvio, Maurizio, they're not here, but in spirit. This is the conceptual, the intellectual, the moral framework by which we hold our community together. We imagine each other on the far corners of the earth, but here's where we are once a year, and we're really here in flesh and blood, and it makes such a difference. And secondly, I'd like to thank Valentina and her team at, what's it called? Equipe International Milano for making it happen. Thank you, the technical part. And then I'd also like to thank Excelsionnel, where is Karen Marin, Chiara, and Julia for making it, try to be around for us as much through the year as we possibly can be. Anyway, we're all here. And of course, this team that we had put together, we started being a team 4 years ago when we were going to be a panel 4 years ago. And now, or was it 3? It seems forever. But we're still here. And so thank you. You know what the theme is. It's the importance of storytelling, the power of storytelling, and the press. And I will let Wouter talk. I will let Wouter in a minute, after I finish yabbing on, talk about the first time that this ever took place. But we're having it now, and I think the most important thing about storytelling and the press, and that I would like to tell you this thought, is that if you are here in this room, and even if you're at Exos, whether it's the first time you're here, or it's the second time, or whether you've never been here before, or whether you've been coming for years, or whether you write a lot in the press, or whether you sometimes write something, or sometimes you never, you are part of this press community. Because it's much more than just writing a lot. It's reading and spreading news and just mentally thinking about it and thinking about what you're going to say. And so not only are you part of this community, you're a very important part of this community, because your words and your thoughts and your values are very important, because what does a story tell? What does a storytelling do? It forms a community. It informs a community, and it creates a community, and this is what we are. So that was the most important point that I wanted to make. And my second point is, because I'm Sarah Colton while I'm introducing myself, some of you might not know my book, Bad Girls Perfume. Some of you do. It's a real story that I wrote, the history of perfume, told from a bad girl's point of view. But I've had lots of popularity with bad boys and all sorts of people, and good people too. So there it is. And then as a special little thing here, I came out, this is a avant, it's like I only did 100 copies of these because I will be launching this in September. But it's taking notes, because I've been around smelling so many fragrances, and fragrances are some of the most important stories we will ever tell. And our ancestors were telling fragrance stories long before we were even human beings. They were like tabloids, like, you know, I'm the biggest, or I've got this territory, don't trespass, Or, you know, these were our fragrance stories from the very beginning. And so our perfumes are just like the continuation of fragrance stories that we do deliberately and consciously. And then if we write about them, we're taking our notes or we're smelling them. So this is, instead of writing your notes down on a little piece of paper that you might lose someday, you have this here. And it's got quotes from Bad Girls in it that just keep your juices going. So after that, I hope I have not spoken more than 5 minutes. I'm going to hand it over to Wouter, because I'm also hoping that everybody in the panel will tell about their take on this panel, and we'll have plenty of time for you all to say something too. Take it away, Wouter.
Thank you, Sarah. Well, at my time, I also want to thank the people of Exence and the organizers, because it's an honor to be here. It's also very nice after these 2-3 difficult years to finally meet again with everybody. And I want to thank Sarah also, because it's, yeah, we already for the cancelled edition of Exence, we were talking about maybe doing something about storytelling. And you referred to Le Salon Littéraire, which I organized as part of an event in Paris. And so we've been discussing a lot about it through the 2 years, and now we're finally here, so it's really nice to share that with you. So I get back to the origin of what I organized in 2009, which was an event in Paris called Rive de la Beauté. But it's not a trade show. In fact, Rive de la Beauté is organized as an itinerary event through the city in many different spaces. And it's also a big difference with Exence, because Exence is, of course, a core business trade show where mainly professionals meet. So Rive de la Beauté was also meant to be open to a larger public of interested consumers. And when we were thinking how to organize that event, we, of course, perfume is a product, and there's the commercial reality. There are shops, and it has to be sold. But we thought it was also very important to touch the cultural potential of perfume and of smelling. And so something that in fact was sometimes happening already, but mainly big brands who had a lot of budget, who organized nice things for journalists in the press presentations. So we thought it could be very interesting to open this up to a larger public. And in fact, one of these cultural ingredients in the first edition was this Salon Littéraire. And Salon Littéraire, as you know, is in fact something that exists since the 17th century, where rich people in beautiful houses organized some kind of a meeting, which was cultural and literary. But the main interest is that in these meetings, they mingled between artists, philosophers, writers, poets. And so it was a really interesting sharing of communication and these things. So a little bit referring to these original Salons Littéraires, we organized inside the Rive de la Beauté event a Salon Littéraire dedicated to perfume and beauty. Throughout the years, there's always been a very interesting project, and on one of the occasions, Bad Girls Perfume, the book of Sarah, was presented, and it's a bit through this that we got to know one another, and that we've been working together on different projects. And so yeah, Le Salon Littéraire, storytelling. It's always been so important, but we all remember how in the 90s, for mainly in the consumers, a lot of people didn't know so much about perfume, and they bought a perfume because one or another actor was the image of this perfume, and little by little, people got more interested in the stories behind the fragrance. What's this brand? Why does it exist? And this and that, and then through certain events, through magazines and through books, people got to know so much more. And today, I think it's becoming more and more a really important part of each perfume and each perfume brand. So together with Sarah, we thought of certain people we could invite around this table. And I think the most important now is to pass the ball through to the different persons. I think we will just let everybody present one himself, yes, and do the story right away. Yeah? So are we sitting in an alphabetical order?
It's alphabetical order is Sarah Baker.
Okay. Then I give the microphone to Sarah.
Oh, thank you. Hello. Thank you for coming. Thank you for inviting me, Sarah and Uter. It's very nice to be on this panel. Storytelling is something that I am really excited about, and I've been excited about it for a long time. My background is as an artist, a conceptual artist, working in the realm of photography and performance and celebrity, interests of glamour, and that quickly turned into my interest in soap opera dramas and narratives. So I started making films. About 10 years ago, I started writing scripts and directing films and doing film commissions and exhibitions. And I got a great opportunity to do a performance with a workshop with the National Theatre Studio in London, where I devised a live play, and the plot was basically about a perfume gone wrong. So a CEO of a big fashion house, she was meeting with her perfumer who she had commissioned, and when he presented the perfume, it smelled rank. It was like an art perfume, and she hated it. She wanted something very nice and commercial and sellable. And it turned out that he was haunted by the ghost of her dead husband, who she had murdered. And all of the fragrant notes were explaining this murder. So there was chocolate cake and cyanide and gunpowder and the leather gloves of the murderer. So we disseminated the scent, we created the scent, and we disseminated the scent in the performance. And this was like really exciting to me because it was, you know, opening the idea that scent and storytelling can actually work hand in hand together. And so, you know, as storytelling is a time-based medium, I was interested in perfume being a time-based medium and having all of the top notes and the sequence of smelling perfume. So I founded House of Sarah Baker shortly after that, and was really interested in words in relation to perfume. Like, the title of a perfume is kind of, as a user, what do you get? You get, if the house has the title of the perfume on it, or sometimes they're untitled, or it's a number. But that's the indication that you get of the story behind the fragrance. And to me, that was like a really exciting jumping point. And our actually tagline on our discovery sets is "Discover Scented Tales." So we kind of are really like taking this pretty seriously. And we're working on more words in the studio. We're very excited about how each one of the fragrances does potentially have a narrative backbone. So for instance, we've just finished up a book that is Flame and Fortune, which is one of our perfume products. And Flame and Fortune is also about a CEO of a cosmetics brand, and her name is Maybelline. Maybelline, get it? Anyways, and so she's in search for a very rare flower in the Sonora Desert, and but she's not the only one looking for this flower. So she's got competition, and there is deceit and backstabbing and spying and car chases and a snake pit, and it's really dramatic and awesome, but always circling back to the fragrant notes of the perfume Flame and Fortune. So we are excited about the sense of smell, how it opens doors into a more expansive art experience, where you, the user, become the character through the performance of perfume. And I do have a select amount, but please do come afterwards. The Thrill of the Chase is a 3-pack, and it has a little story inside of it, and Flame and Fortune is in there. So thank you.
And Sarah is based in London.
Yeah, based in London. I don't sound like it, but I've been there for 20 years.
Okay, and so after this, drum roll, whoops, oops, wait, no, I'm going the wrong way. Oh dear, I'm giving away the end. It's you.
Do you want to hold the mic?
And you want to hold it for me? Thank you.
Oh, I can hold it.
Buonasera, everybody. Thank you, Sarah. No, not Wouter. For inviting me. So I'm more of an imposter here, I guess, because I don't really do storytelling. Sorry, I haven't really given a thought before coming and before listening to you. But we are more... So I'm one of the founders of NE, the olfactory cultural movement. Actually, we're not trying to tell stories about perfume, but just to describe it as maybe it should have been earlier. We began in 2007 with a website called Au Parfum. You know, Au Parfum, it means in French to be aware of things, to be Au Parfum. And at a time where the brand were talking about perfume only on a marketing level. And then Jeanne Doré, she told me she wanted to write about perfume because nobody was saying anything really interesting. You had Lucas Turin, you had, help me, Chandler Burr, but not a lot of people. And everybody at that time created a blog, a website, and that's what we did. And for years, so we gathered a whole community of perfume lovers because they had, you know, they were lost in their, everybody at home or in their village. Nobody pay attention who would talk about perfume, so that's so useless. And but then they found Au Parfum, and that they were very happy to find this community, as you said, for years. So now 2007. Sometimes I say that people that have an Instagram account, I hope they are still here in 15 years or more. And I'm feeling sorry a little bit when. It's not very nice. But when you spend so much time to do something that lasts only 24 hours, so that's why we do books. So it's for life. And then, but we do stories also. That's not very fair. So in 2016, we've created NE, the olfactory magazine. You can buy it here, you know. And because we didn't want to talk only about perfume, so we said storytelling, but we are more on the olfactory culture level. So we are trying to address lots of different topics and with lots of different experts, not perfume or researchers, scientists, historians, and writers. And we're trying to connect everything that is linked to the olfactory culture and to bring it in NE. And that's lots of work. So I'm happy. I'm just here to sell the books afterwards, after the real people who know stuff about perfume and olfactory culture have written all these wonderful articles. So you have it here. I guess, I hope most of you know the magazine. It's published in French, in English, and sometimes in Italian every 6 months. And this is the last issue. And also, because I don't want to spend too much time talking, sorry, we have developed other collections. So sometimes, so something very important is that we are distributed in bookshops in France. And sometimes people in the industry think that we are like a subscription magazine, only B2B one, but we are B2C magazine that the professional read, and because they find it so nice to read, you know, it's not a pure B2B magazine. And you read it first for pleasure and then entertainment, and then you discover all this content that we are providing. So we developed also, and more we are working more and more with industry. So we are not just into niche, we talk about niche, mainstream, and we work closely with the fragrance houses mostly. Like, for instance, IFF. We are doing these books about raw materials. These are ingredients, natural raw ingredients. These are, so every 6 months we publish 2 books in French and in English, in partnership with LMR, which is the brand for natural ingredients of IFF, so the US fragrance house. So here you have blackcurrant bud, here you have lavender, and so we try to go through lots of topics, not only the way you produce perfume, but also the representation in art, symbolism of the plant, maybe, so lots of different aspects. Obviously, a big part is dedicated to the perfume creation. But also, you know, when you put that in bookshops near books about gardens, people buy it. When they see it's perfumery, so they say, oh no, it's too specific, it's too niche. But when you can lure them. And that's what we try to do also with this one, you know. That's why it's green. So the people in bookshops, they think, oh, they're talking about plants. That's right. We're talking about plants, raw ingredients, but also synthetics. And we think, and we notice that more and more readers, people in bookshops who are not specialized or at first maybe interested in perfume, read these books, and that's very important for us, just to go further than just the community, because that's very, it stays quite small in a way, and it's important that the people, that the readers and all the potential readers can understand the importance of olfaction and perfume, and not just the people who are really, as you are, into it. So this book has been created this year, so last year, and this is the second edition, and we had a collaboration with almost 31 producer, distributors, fragrance houses, and each one of them was connected to a raw material. So we had 30 raw material, 30 naturals, and also synthetics families. So I should have sent more picture because it's complicated to talk and at the same time to show the book, but you can see them afterwards. Okay, so we publish about 10 books a year, at least, French mostly, and sometimes in English, and then also, that is very important that it's spread all around the world. You tell me if I'm too long, okay? You can slap me. You come and you do it like this. And one of the main book, I don't have it here, is a big book of perfume, so it's out of stock in English, but it exists, Le Grand Livre du Parfum, and it exists also in Italian, in Spanish, soon in Chinese, and it exists already in Deutsch, in German, in Korean. So really what we're trying to do is to be as wide as possible. And I'm reading, so. And also we're trying to have partnerships with events in, you know, for instance, in library in Paris, we have organized conferences, podcasts, and we have partnerships sometimes with movies when they talk about perfume. So we're trying to really reach to get more and more people knowing our brand and so our production, and and discover the world of perfume and olfaction. All the more that now that everybody knows that anosmia exists since COVID, then suddenly they discover this all new world of their nose. So COVID was a good thing for us, actually. No, I'm joking. And yeah, I think that's all for the moment. No, I haven't read it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And who's next?
And she's going to speak in French.
Yeah.
So there are earphones for anyone who wants them.
Bonsoir tout le monde. Combien parlent en français, comprennent le français? Bon, half of them. Okay. So as I am a bad speaker, I wrote my speech. Voilà. And voilà.
It's good.
Bonjour à toutes et à tous. Voilà, je suis Raffaella Caprarulo, écrivain, poétesse et photographe. Je suis à Aix-en-Provence pour vous présenter les femmes en parfumerie et un jardin d'art parfumé, qui sont à eux deux une belle aventure, puisque je suis ici parmi vous aujourd'hui. Et en ce sens, je remercie Sarah Colton and Wouter Wells. Je commence par les femmes en parfumerie dont le parcours n'est pas anodin, puisque le 28 novembre 2018, la ville de Grasse remportait une victoire historique avec son inscription au patrimoine culturel immatériel de l'humanité à l'UNESCO pour les savoir-faire liés au parfum en Pays de Grasse. 3 mois après que notre ville ait été honorée sur la scène internationale, le club So Optimist International, dont je fais partie à Grasse, pour la Journée internationale de la femme, nous avons organisé une journée, colloque, intitulée « Les femmes en parfumerie ». En effet, bien en amont, notre reconnaissance par l'UNESCO, nous nous étions interrogés et il nous avait paru essentiel d'aborder la place des femmes dans la sphère très fermée du parfum. Inédite, notre journée fut un franc succès. Pourquoi inédite? D'une part parce que le colloque avait lieu dans la capitale mondiale du parfum, donc Grasse, et que nulle part ailleurs, tout au moins à notre connaissance, cette thématique n'avait encore jamais été évoquée avec des femmes connues et reconnues dans le monde du parfum, de la parfumerie, et celles qu'on ne connaît pas, dont on ne parle jamais, que nous souhaitions mettre en lumière. Rendre visibles les invisibles qui travaillent dans la parfumerie. Le point d'orgue était de rassembler ces femmes qui ne se croisent pas forcément, mais qui font partie de la chaîne de ces rares métiers du parfum. Alors, de la cueilleuse, la productrice de plantes à parfum, la transformatrice de matières premières, l'évaluatrice, etc., jusqu'à la parfumeur-créateur, d'où le sous-titre de mon livre « De la terre au flacon ». Il n'était pas envisageable de perdre ces récits de vie hors du commun. Inscrire ces parcours remarquables était essentiel. Il devait rester un témoignage, une trace vivante de ce colloque. J'ai donc recueilli l'essence et la quintessence, j'ai retranscrit la quintessence de 20 témoignages exceptionnels. Pour vous citer brièvement 3 noms de femmes qui figurent dans le livre, je commence par la marraine et organisatrice de ce colloque, Madame Monique Rémy, icône dans l'histoire de la parfumerie mondiale, chimiste chevronnée, chef d'entreprise et fondatrice des laboratoires Monique Rémy qui ont été rachetés par l'IFF, dont on parlait tout à l'heure, voilà, International Flavors and Fragrances. C'est un monstre, Madame Monique Rémy. Hein. Ensuite, Carole Biancalana, 3e génération de productrice de plantes à parfum au domaine de Manon, avec laquelle Dior a noué un partenariat exclusif. Elle est aussi la fondatrice de l'association Fleurs d'Exception en Pays de Grasse, qui a créé l'Aromatique Fab Lab. C'est un centre de référence de la plante à parfum, un lieu d'expérience et de transmission. Alors, afin de corroborer certains témoignages, j'ai réalisé des reportages photos sur le vif, puisque je suis également photographe, notamment au domaine de Manon. On y découvre Carole Biancalana sur son tracteur ou cueillir des fleurs dans ses plantations. Voilà. Alors la troisième, et non des moindres également, c'est Patricia de Nicolai, parfumeur, créateur et président de l'Osmothèque, sans oublier de mentionner le nom de la maison Guerlain, sa prestigieuse famille. C'est une grande fierté de savoir que les femmes en parfumerie est à l'Osmothèque, à Versailles, unique conservatoire international des parfums retraçant l'histoire de la parfumerie. L'Osmothèque possède une antenne à New York également. L'ouvrage illustré est une rencontre avec la ville de Grasse, ses savoir-faire, son industrie du parfum, mais il est surtout une rencontre avec des femmes passionnées, connues ou anonymes, qui ont contribué avec celles qui continuent à écrire l'histoire de la parfumerie. Les femmes en parfumerie constituent un témoignage légitime de leur place et de leur rôle dans l'univers de la parfumerie. Alors juste un petit mot sur le second livre bilingue, anglais-français. Un jardin d'art parfumé est un recueil de poésie accompagné de photographies. Les poèmes parlent de parfums, d'odeurs de peau, d'ancrage olfactif, de senteurs, de fleurs, dont un hymne à la Santifolia, notre rose de mai. Mon ouvrage est une promenade dans un jardin privé érassois, un musée en plein air de toute beauté. Pourquoi un musée? Parce qu'il y a plein de statues, des cascades, des fontaines. Voilà, le recueil est un éloge à un univers esthétique et parfumé, où tout vit et se pose avec grâce. Tous nos sens sont affectés par elle, la fleur. Vous la regardez, vous la touchez, vous la respirez, vous vous en parfumez, vous allez jusqu'à la manger et la boire. Je vous remercie de votre attention.
Look at these books afterwards, because not only is she a writer, she is a beautiful photographer. And when you see her photographs, you are engrossed. So, yes. Next, it's Kelly. Let us.
Yeah, so I feel very unprepared. I have no props. It's just me talking. But I think to understand what we do at Beauty Matter requires a little bit of history on how we got there. So Beauty Matter is a B2B content platform. We cover the entire beauty space. So brands, retailers, the investment community, the supply side of the industry. But I did not start as a journalist. I spent 20 years building brands and advising brands, starting some of my own brands. Odin was one of them that I started with partners, so we were exhibitors here. So for better or worse, as an entrepreneur, I understand how independent beauty brands get built, scale, don't scale, have worked doing trend forecasting for some large companies, fashion companies. And at some point during I don't know, I guess about 15 years ago, I decided that the B2B side of the beauty industry didn't reflect the vibrancy of the industry itself. It didn't feel like the publications were really telling stories. The ones that were felt beholden to big beauty, and really felt like there was a different way to approach this that connected all of the dots. We also tend to be an incredibly siloed industry, and fragrance is its own world, very much. And really couldn't shake the idea that this could be done better. But as an entrepreneur, I know how to put goop in a jar and sell it. That's what I've done my whole life. Being a journalist and running a media platform was not anything that I had ever contemplated. But I found a way to do it, to test this idea that maybe there was an appetite for this. Launched about 7 years ago as a blog aggregating content that other people were writing. through our lens of what was important, and a newsletter. The first newsletter we sent, my inbox exploded, but then I had to go through the whole process of I had not contemplated that was going to happen, and really deciding, was there a business here? Were people just being nice? Why were people comparing us to Women's Wear Daily and Business of Fashion that were far bigger than us? And spent about 3 years doing it on the side. So no pressure for it to make any money, but it really sort of grew into itself and its place in the industry, I believe. We now have a small editorial team. Carla is here from London, who does a lot of our coverage in fragrance. But our goal is really, and our belief is that even on the B2B side, storytelling is everything. So building brands, marketing brands at the core are all about storytelling. If we own brands, we're constantly telling stories. If we're marketing ourselves, we're always telling stories. So we really approach the work that we do, telling B2B stories, be it about an ingredient or a technology or a founder, or something that we feel like isn't getting, how can I say it, an equal coverage. So there are a lot of kind of self-perpetuating trends, clean beauty being one of them. There are a lot of people who have lots of opinions about clean beauty, but when you ask them to sort of go on record with them, all of a sudden they're not willing to talk about them. But we try and create a space where we can have difficult conversations about plastics' role in sustainability, about AI in perfumery. You know, we have to be able to have complicated conversations to be able to tell the whole story, and also to sort of to inform entrepreneurs that are in the industry. You know, so that's what we do. We are run not by a group of journalists. We're self-funded. John, who is our COO, comes from the investment community and ran Paper Magazine and broke the internet with Kim Kardashian. You know, I've been a brand builder and an advisor, and now I feel like I have a split personality between people who know me as a journalist, which I still have a hard time saying that, and those who know my entire career. So our perspective, we really are our community. That's the lens that we create content through. And for us, content is, yes, the written word. We do it digitally. But it is also podcasts. It is also webinars. We are also we've started taking what we do live in small groups. And I think that each of those mediums has its place in telling stories of brands, of our industry, and of our category. They are all kind of different and different levels of intimacy, really. But I think, you know, the beauty industry is a large industry. A lot of the B2B, our competitors are either very focused on a very specific segment of the industry, like ingredients or flavors and perfumes. And on the flip side, the larger ones are kind of fashion first and beauty second. We're beauty. The whole industry of beauty and everything that makes it tick. And our goal is really to inspire and inform and really be a platform also for others that are making a difference in our industry. So we are storytellers, but we like to be the conduit for other people's stories as well.
Thank you. May I?
Yes.
I just wanted to say that one of the side effects of doing this is I became a subscriber because I was so tired of getting to the point where I couldn't read one more article because I'd read and the very cool thing that you do, and I think all of us who are journalists and who have products, whatever it is that once a day I get an email and she has pulled together, according to my preferences, at least 5 or 6 articles that I think, wow, this is for me, and it's also very interesting. So, bravo, first of all, and
we also try and make it forgot. We also try and make it easy for people, right? So we know what it's like to run a business. So our subscribers, we actually have a newsletter once a week where we aggregate other people's content. It can be everything from something we've read on MIT to Business of Fashion to women. We don't care where it comes from. There's lots of people creating good content, and we aggregate it for our subscribers. Usually like 30 pieces every Sunday, so you can be lazy and know what's happening every week.
Did you want to? What I would also like very much to do, Wait, is to allow other people to speak. Maybe we should go to our questions, because we've ran over time, but we started late, so I think we can stay as long as anybody wants to talk. I think the most important thing that I would like to say is that, having put this panel together with Wouter, that this is a real variety. You think, what is the press? What is a story? Well, look at what we've got. We've got images. We've got podcasts. We've got perfumes. Perfumes are telling stories. We've got videos. We've got books. We've got Wouter does. You're a live person in the middle of the story, walking down the street in Paris, creating the story. This is what stories are, and this is what we all are. And so, unless anybody else here, before we pass it along, who in the audience would like to make a comment? Don't be shy. The time will go fast, and you'll regret it. I'm looking at one person who won a Fifi Award, and this is Carla. She is the person that, if you, yes, I know. I'm putting you on the spot. You don't have to say anything, but yes. Would you like to say something? Would you like to say something? Whatever, or a question. I mean.
Otherwise, we start with a question.
Okay, then okay, you take it.
Well, but we want questions from you too, but it's always frightening if we just say, now you have to ask.
Okay. Yes. How will the metaverse be affecting storytelling? Okay. Wouter, you answer that one.
Which metaphors?
Metaverse.
Metaverse, sorry.
Maybe so.
No, it's indeed, yeah, it was one it's indeed our first topic, because, yeah, it got so split away before. There was the source. Somebody launched a story, and often it was not at all. Yeah, it was often a marketing story before. Sometimes it had nothing to do with what the creator or the person who made the project or whatever had in mind in the beginning. But I think the interesting thing of the metaverse, is probably that now everybody in a way got a voice. So there was much more activity, interactivity. People, if you weren't, or if you didn't agree with something, you could just come up for your own opinion. And of course, people often look into this one thing of how all of a sudden there are certain influencers but we shouldn't just concentrate on that. It's just that so many people now got a voice on different levels. And this is probably, I think, a big influence on storytelling and on maybe on the authenticity also of stories and things. That's just my take. I don't know if somebody on this story or another question in the...
I could say a little something about that. One of the interesting things that I've kind of come to understand is that because perfume really has to be live. Like, you have to really experience it. So you can read reviews about a perfume and like order it and then get it live. But so for me, it was like interesting, because a lot of artwork has to be live, and essentially it's ephemeral. Like it is like a live, performative, ephemeral experience, which is counterintuitive of the metaverse in many ways, but also, I think, why it's super exciting. That's just my take.
Yeah, yeah. Kelly, I saw you nodding your head.
I don't know. I'm conflicted about the metaverse. I'm interested in it, but I also feel, you know, we had someone who actually gave us a tour of the metaverse. And there are a lot of contradictions. So, you know, if you think of the metaverse being sort of this very cutting edge technology thing, you would imagine that it's very sophisticated and it moves very fast. It does not do either. You have to be on a laptop. You cannot do it off of your phone. It's a laptop with a lot of processing power. It is very slow. It crashes. I honestly felt like I was like, is this a joke? Like, or is this dial-up? It was so different than what I had expected. And I also feel like the infrastructure is not there yet. So there are a lot of people that are all in on the metaverse, but I'm not sure that the infrastructure there, it's gaming at the end of the day. So I think for creatives and people who are storytelling and kind of digitally native, it makes sense. I think for, just speaking from a business perspective, I think for a lot of brands, it's potentially a real distraction because at the end of the day, we make our living selling products in the real world. We have a lot of real world problems to solve rather than building a new world. But I think it's interesting, but I think it's still very, very early days. But a lot of the big brands and a lot of fragrance brands are sort of exploring it.
Well, it's definitely a catchword that everybody is thinking that they need to.
But it kind of came out of, it's been around for a while, but it's really the last 6 months. We started following NFTs, which are not necessarily the metaverse, about a year ago. And now it's like every day, it's, you know, the topic on everyone's mind.
Thank you. Any other?
There are perfume brands creating NFPs.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that's kind of started to happen a little bit, but interesting. I still think it's got to be live. You've got to really experience it.
We live in this world. The whole avatar thing escapes me, but you know, I'm probably not the early adopter in this case. From an intellectual level, yes, but.
And also, it's not very sustainable. So, fragrance is always talking about industries is talking about sustainability, and I don't think NFT is really sustainable. And I have no idea what metaverse is. So maybe later you explain to me.
There's someone who wanted to speak. Maybe she has an answer. What is your name?
I'm Camila. So on the subject of metaverse, I wanted to ask you if you think that at the moment, whether you think that at the moment people who are interested in metaverse and NFTs are tech people and journalists who are looking for a story. I'm thinking that regular, even early adopters are not that much into it, but I would like to know if you agree with me or if you see something different happening.
She didn't look at me.
She didn't. I don't have the answer to that question. Does anyone else? I don't know. I am not doing anything about the metaverse today, so.
I mean, we've been watching it for about 18 months. I think that, I don't know, it's an interesting dynamic that's happening. I think that you see big beauty brands not wanting to be caught flat-footed on this the way they were with influencers and social media. So I've recently seen some job searches for the chief of the metaverse. Like, I don't even know what that is, but I bet it pays really well. I think I could do it. It's this very, I mean, you know, the metaverse is still being defined. So the fact that you would hire someone in your C-suite to run it is, you know, but I think it is just big beauty brands don't want to be caught flat-footed this time, which is understandable. I think that there are a lot of brands that are testing and learning when it comes to NFTs and the metaverse. It's an expensive proposition, so I think if it doesn't come naturally, I'm not sure that's where I'd spend the money. But we've had conversations, you know, all the big brands are doing it, but they're all kind of in this testing phase. And now some brands are making a connection to the real world. So you know, it's kind of perhaps the digital equivalent to the GWP. Right? So you'll buy your real world perfume, lipstick, whatever, and you know, eventually you'll probably have the digital equivalent in the metaverse. That's where it makes the most sense to me.
Let's bring this back to metaphors.
Okay. We'll stick to the metaphors.
I have one question, in fact, to Dominique, because you told us a bit about the catalog. And, but in fact, I know that it started a bit with one perfumer who actually writes books and is an author. And I think that you guys gave out one of his books, Jean-Claude Helena. But next to that, I also know that you give voice to other perfumers in which you help them, or they write books, or there are a few books that you guys have been editing and in which you give a voice to a perfumer. So I think this is interesting. Just
yes. Everybody we do is interesting, you know. No, but yeah, thank you. This is the collection I forgot to describe. This is Ne Literature. And yeah, we asked Jean-Claude Helena once if he wanted to write a book for us that would be the first book of this new collection. And then he told us I already wrote it. So he brought the manuscript, you know, and said, okay, let's publish this book. And that was the first one. And then we published the book of Dominique Ropion, because actually perfumers, they don't really write. They don't write usually. It's very they pass their knowledge to the junior perfumer, for instance, they're working with, but they don't really think of keeping it for the next generation. And as everything is so secret, you know, so they don't give away formulas in our books, but the idea was to collect some of their thoughts, memories, and the way they're working. So first we had Jean-Claude and Dominique, and the last one is Mathilde Laurent from Cartier. So we're very happy to have them. So Dominique Ropion exists also in English, Jean-Claude Helena only in French for the moment, and Mathilde in French and soon in English also. So everybody will be able to read it. I think we publish, I said it already, maybe 10 or 12 books a year, and until now maybe 40 or something like at least 40 books, I guess. So we are the only publishing house dedicated to perfume, maybe just with, so I have to admit, with Michael Edwards. Because he published only books about perfume. So let's say there is Michael Edwards and Ne. That's okay for me. Was it a good answer? Okay, thank you. I still don't know anything about metaverse. Sorry. We just write books.
Hello. Yes, I'm looking at people. I'm thinking, we have a couple of other questions up here. I think one of the most important things that I think that this panel is showing, is that there is so much diversity in what the fragrance press and this fragrance storytellers are, and in our minds we can't possibly take it all in. We focus on one part, we focus on another part, but I think the most important thing is that there is just this amazing richness that while we are here at Excellence, we bring just this group of people together, and we're writing, like Sarah is writing stories actually as a perfumer and her perfumes, then she's writing a play, we've got podcasts, we've got books, we've got the financial stories, we've got everything. And so it's really, there's something for everybody, and that's actually what we want in our fragrances too. We don't all want to be wearing the same fragrance. And in that way, I think that I feel that we're representative of what this industry is. We are a very diverse, powerful group, and I see so many of you out there that are contributing in your own ways, and so thank you. And does anybody else want to speak on any of these subjects? Either who is, yes, where's the mic?
It's a question, it's a statement, it's a lot of things. Okay, my name is Elena Cvetkovic. You might know me as the Plum Girl.
Yes.
The way I read the theme, the importance of stories, of storytelling in perfumery, I see it like this. We all lack words to describe scent. So that's why I see that storytelling and stories in perfumery for the industry, for the consumers, for everybody involved are so important. We still have to learn the language of perfume. We still find it very hard to match what we smell to what we communicate to others. I see the importance there. But what I see happening, yes, we have diversity, we have everything. We have wonderful things like Liz writing books, explaining scent to people. We have Sarah who creates happenings, trying to bring her own and other, parts of her perfumes, the accords, the notes, to tell them through stories, to happenings, to visual, to touch. That's important. But we also, in my opinion, have oversimplifying in this community. Oversimplifying. I'm sorry, but I don't consider stories and storytelling and journalism situations when you have notes listed and served as a story about perfume. It is just not enough. And that's why I appreciate the names, because they really educate. I think that education matters.
Yes.
Maybe you could discuss that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I think the oversimplification is something that we all fight against, because yes, you can read the ingredients on the bottle, and it really depends upon one person is going to put them together the way another person puts them together, and they're going to be very different. And also, and I don't want to keep picking on you, Carla, but one of your articles, you said something then, and I didn't know where it came from, but you were saying, I think you said, if I misquote you, correct me, that human noses, we have 70% similar sensors, but there's 30% that is different for the individual. Did I read that right? I wrote it down someplace, but I suppose the main thing is and it's actually one of the things that I mentioned in my book. When you are in this little book right here, when you are going around smelling fragrances, and I have one page that's the facts that you might want to write down. This contains these facts, these ingredients. But the other page is, what are your feelings about that? And your nose is going to smell it differently, and your memories are going to smell it differently. And we need to also give ourselves the time and the energy and the agency to say what we feel when we smell a fragrance. It's not necessarily even what we smell, but what do we feel? I feel like I'm with my grandmother, or I feel like I'm back at that thing, God, smells like my first grade book that I was listening, doing something. And and I think part of what we need to do as perfume writers is to, first of all, open it up so that people know that this is my opinion. You are going to have your feelings. You are going to have your memories and maybe a totally different olfactory perception system. But this is our rights, and for somebody to say, oh, well, that's not what it smells like, I just say, well, shut up. It's what it smells like to me. And I think that's happening less and less in perfume shops, but it used to be that you could go in and be extremely intimidated by someone, and they would say, well, this smells like such and such. You say, well, I don't smell that well. What's wrong with you? I think that the internet, I think that we are finding our own agency, and I think that even if I can find the word that's saying what I'm feeling or smelling, and maybe that will trigger something for you, and then we all have to take it. We're out here on our own, but we are all together too. Sorry, I put you on the spot again, but I've been reading all your stuff. Yes.
Obviously, Mare did the sort of the shop concept where it was completely blank, right? So you couldn't see the bottle, you couldn't see the brand, you couldn't read. Sorry, I was just mentioning about the shop concept where basically it was you went in as a consumer blind, right?
Yes.
So you couldn't see the brand, you couldn't see the bottle and the packaging, and even with notes sometimes, I know for me when I'm smelling something, if I sort of read the notes beforehand, it's hard to say, does this influence my interpretation of it, versus if you just kind of smell it blindly and sort of, where is it like intuitive smelling versus, an informed smelling, or if someone else smells it before you and says, I smelled this, does that then interpret how you does that change how you interpret it? And yeah, I think that's, anyways, going off on a bit of a tangent there, but.
Yeah, but it can be even just a mood. This one puts me in a really upbeat mood. I don't know why, or this one depresses the hell out of me. We don't know why. But this is all of what this is what fragrances are doing to each of us separately and sometimes together. And as the fragrance press, this is part of our job, is to not only to say what we think, but also to open it up to the other people to say, it's your nose, it's your emotions, it's your history. And to me, I find that's a really exciting part of us, and it's another exciting thing about what the internet is doing for us. You talk. No, it's what the internet does is because it allows us to communicate very freely with each other, sometimes in direct message or something like that. And the more we communicate, the more we're feeling it, and it's taking us someplace. So anyway, I'm going to stop talking. You talk, Wouter. I think it's probably time to wrap up.
I think we're except if there's one or another question still, but I think what we could conclude in one way or another is that the story is far from being over, and many stories still remain untold. So there's still a lot to do, a lot of things to invent and to talk about but we were just trying to get some of this in 1 hour with the five of us and with the people you there, and let's continue to tell stories.
Yes. Thank you for coming. Great. This was very good.
A bit crazy.
Thank you. God. Thank you, Valentina.
I think everything's